I started to make this class to handle the seed shapes or the basic templates, so I can transform them. I can do spins and pinch them and stretch them. So I started just building that out. I have just so far a method for displaying, and here I'm just changing the color in a wave, and then I don't need this anymore. But then I make sure, so I'm giving this class, when I initialize it, I give it a p vector, or an array list of p vectors, and that defines the shape. And I store them all here in this array list that's global, so I can mess with it everywhere. And then I run through the entire size of how many vertices I gave it. Then I run through and I check to make sure I'm not at the end of the list yet. But if I'm not at the end, then I draw a line from the current vector, the current position, XY, to the next. And then finally at the end, I go from the current to the first, so it completes the shape. And here I discovered, in this book I'm reading about all these transformations and fractals, how to rotate, and I basically recreated the rotate function that I've already been playing with in processing. And here, this formula gives us our next XY position. So in this method, I check each of the vertices of the shape, and I rotate it by this angle, or polar angle, I think it is. Is that called a radian? And then this is what I do. I create 2 array lists full of p vectors, 4 p vectors, S and T for the shapes, square and triangle. Then I initialize them, and they are here, new array lists, and then I add vectors to the S array list, which is from the top corner left, and then I just build out a square that's 10 pixels in, and then I finally initialize my shape with this array list. And now I started with a triangle, and then in the draw function, I display my square and spin my square, display my triangle and spin my triangle, and the color of the stroke is changing on this like sine wave, so we can see what happens, and so it doesn't all just turn black. It's kind of fun to watch these things. My interest in this was, and still is, artistic, I think, mostly. It's so beautiful, and I feel like if I understand more of the math, then I'll have more control over what I am able to do. And so far this quarter I've learned so much. It's really fun and fulfilling. So we see that we have a square and a triangle, and they're both rotating at the same time. And I can basically define any sort of crazy shape and rotate it, and do all these other transformations that I'm going to build into this because I've seen how to make fractals out of this kind of stuff, and it was inspiring, so I'm gonna finish it out.